afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining me on this sunny Saturday afternoon. It is December 10th, 2022, and I am sitting here preparing to tell my story of Beyond Forever. Now, before I get into actually telling the story, I think it's fair to sit down and explain to you exactly what Beyond Forever is, because at this point, I'm pretty sure most of you have absolutely no idea what it might be. Basically, Beyond Forever is a epic science fiction fantasy story I've been working on for most of my life. It started when I was just a kid, and it's been growing and evolving ever since. I refer to it as basically Star Wars meets Lord of the Rings, as it has classic, fantasy elements, monsters and wizards, and then it has your sci-fi elements like, spaceships, robots, things like that, time travel. It's a epic, multi-generational tale which follows the Wallcroft family as they exist throughout history, throughout time, and battle a particular evil. And the reason for that is part of what you're going to learn in the story. You see, this was going to be a television series I was hoping to tell during the course of my life. But unfortunately, my film career sort of never materialized. And I'm sort of stuck with this story in my head that I want to get out into the world. But it's such a huge story. There's so much. It's complex. And I want it to get out. And I want it to get out correctly. I want it to get out my way. I mean, I've written the whole outline to the story, from beginning to end. There's several hundred pages of it. But no one else will be able to tell it my way. No one else has my vision as to why I created it the way I did. The characters, the worlds, the everything, the nuances, the way things look, everything. It's just, no one else can do that. So I have a responsibility to get the story out there my way, in some form, at least. If someone else wants to do something else with it down the road, that's fine. They can change it. But as long as my version exists somewhere in the world before I'm dead. Now, the name Beyond Forever itself may pose a bit of a sticky situation. When the title was created back in 1999, as far as I knew, it was an original title. I never read about it anywhere or heard it anywhere. But in recent years, thanks to the internet, I've been finding out that there are a lot of Beyond Forevers out there. Books and videos and whatnot. But it seems like most of them, or all of them, were created since 1999, so I feel I came up with it first. But how's the world going to know that? But I have to keep the title, because my dad came up with it. Over the years of my life, I kept trying to come up with titles for the story. I mean, titles are important. They're what catches your attention. They make you want to read the story or watch the program. And I didn't have one that I liked. I came up with titles like Alternate Horizons or The Aeonian Tales or things like that. But nothing really clicked. There was always something about those titles that just never rang true for me. And I kept searching and racking my brain trying to come up with something, but nothing ever seemed to gel in my mind. So one evening, back in 1999, when my dad and I were driving from New Quiyama to Taft, this was before my dad's stroke, and it took about 30 minutes to drive to Taft. And he knew that I was having trouble coming up with a title for my story. See, my dad was more supportive than my mother was when it came to my imagination and creativity. He didn't believe that I was ever going to succeed in anything, but he tried to offer support whenever he could. So this evening, we were throwing ideas around, possible titles and concepts around, and my dad came up with Beyond Forever. Hell, he even came up with There Lies at the Edge of Time, The Tale of the Dawn of Mankind. That was brilliant. Everything just clicked. It couldn't have been more perfect. And when my dad died in 2001, I made a promise that I would keep that title and that tagline in his honor. That would be part of his legacy, because if Beyond Forever becomes as popular as I'm hoping it will be, then a part of him will live on forever. And to me, that's more precious than anything. So, but to separate my Beyond Forever from all the other Beyond Forevers, I gave it a subtitle: Beyond Forever, The Eternity Minders Saga. I'm reminded of something that rocker Gene Simmons once said when he and his fellow band members created Kiss. He said in an interview once that there was another band already called Kiss, but what's important is household recognition. Until there is household recognition, you can use the name. And right now, you mentioned anybody on the street Beyond Forever, and no one's going to know what you're talking about. So there is no household recognition. I am hoping to achieve household recognition with this. I'm sitting here and I just can't believe that I've been creating this story for 44 years. That is amazing to me. I can remember the whole thing started back on my birthday in 1978. I came home from school and my mother was so happy and so excited. She wanted me to get my homework done right away because later on that night on television there was some sort of a sci-fi movie. She said it looked like something I would love, with monsters and robots and aliens and spaceships and explosions and things. And she said that she didn't recall seeing a single human being in the previews that she saw for that movie. And she wanted me to get my homework done so I could be free and clear to watch that movie that night. Later, after we had cake and my presents, that was my Star Wars birthday, by the way, that she admitted there was no movie. That was just her way of trying to get me to get my homework done so I could enjoy the rest of my birthday. I understood what she did. I was a little disappointed, but it stuck with me. I always wondered what kind of movie that would have been. No human beings, aliens and monsters and robots. And I just always thought about what kind of movie that could have been without human beings. That was the beginning of my story. My mother wasn't exactly the supportive type when it came to my imagination and my creativity. But actually, she was the one that put the thought in my head, and Beyond Forever owes its existence entirely to her. Because without that thought about that movie in my head, the story probably never would have existed. So as I planned on becoming a filmmaker and starting a film career and getting my own production company by the time I was 46 years old, this was going to be my TV series. I was still working on it, developing it, and planning and making it more complex and more dynamic. My mom said to me when she would read some of the stuff I would come up with, and she said that no one would ever follow it. It's too complicated. It's too drawn out. You need to simplify it. Most importantly, in her mind, it didn't glorify God. What she doesn't realize is there is a religious element to the story that you don't learn about until close to the end, but I can't help it. Growing up in the household I grew up with, there's a little bit of religion that's going to sneak in there. And of course, when I was growing up, special effects were extremely limited. George Lucas developed industrial light and magic to create special effects for some of the big blockbusters, but special effects were pretty expensive. And my tale, to tell it my way, was going to cost a lot of money. And I had to try and figure out ways of minimizing the amount of effects or expensive effects that the story would need. Plus, I was always wondering if my mom was right. Was the story too complicated? Were the characters too too foreign. But then came a TV show in the 90s that changed my perception forever and validated my way of thinking. Babylon 5 by J. Michael Straczynski. Babylon 5 showed me that you can have aliens and worlds and tell a story over a 5-year period and still have it entertaining and marvelous. I had no idea how long it was going to take me to tell Beyond Forever, but at least I felt there was hope. And over the years, as I found out that my film career was gone forever, that there was no way in hell I was ever going to be able to film Beyond Forever or get it out there in any visual form whatsoever, that it was depressing. I still had the story. The characters were my friends. How am I going to get the story out into the world in a way that the public will appreciate it and fall in love with these characters and these situations and these worlds as much as I do? I thought about writing a novel. People were asking me, why don't I write a novel? I never learned how to write a novel, but if that was all that was left to me, then I was going to try and do that. Writing a book is hard. It really, really is. Creating is easy. Writing is really, really hard. And then, of course, I got married in 2003, and no one else shares my vision. My passion for this story. I still dreamt my dreams and still felt there had to be a way to get my story out into the world. I'm 56 years old. It's time to tell the tale before I'm dead. It's a long story, trust me, folks. It is a long, long story. If I was going to write a book, it would take 22 novels to tell the story, but I figured I could whittle it down to 8. Because I don't want to compromise. I don't want to gloss over vital areas of the tale. Everything's in the story for a reason. It may not be apparent at first, but there's things in the story that build to character development. Things that happened 2 books away would have had to have had its foundations in the book you're writing now. Or in this case, the stories I'm going to be telling now will have implications months down the road, or maybe even years, who knows. But it's important. For the characters to become what they are meant to become, you have to follow their adventures, follow their tragedies, because then what happens to them will make perfect sense. But if you gloss over all that, it won't make sense. It'll be, how did they become from this person to that person? It just won't make sense. And I have to be true to the characters and true to the story. Because believe me, folks, when you're creating an original universe that no one has ever heard of before, with things in it that no one has any reference to, you have to be very specific about how you handle the story. I mean, the story itself is older. The characters are older. The plots are older than this universe. It actually begins before our universe existed. Basically, it's a story about an ancient device called the Lorithoscrum that's programmed with bringing about the ultimate evolution in the human species. But there is a demon behind it, orchestrating everything, including it. It's a family saga. It starts off as an evil robot's quest for personal redemption to destroy the evil that created it. Then it becomes a family saga, going into the Walcroft family. Tanith Jordan Walcroft will start it. She'll continue the quest where Leiluron, the Protheri robot, left off. And it will end with her grandson, who will complete the tale. But you have to follow the adventures for all of that to make sense. I'm going to start the story with a short segment called The Turn of the Key. Basically, I just call it that because it's like putting a key in an engine and you start the engine. This story starts the tale. Now, my story doesn't take place within just one universe. It takes place in an omniverse with many, many, many multiple strange and unusual universes contained within. The known universe of my characters takes place within 43 galaxies. Now, I use 43 because I took my full name and my wife's full name, and if you take the combined letters of both of our names, it's 43 letters. So if you take the letter of each one, take the letters and you make a galaxy name out of it. For example, my wife's name is Patricia, so the P in Patricia became the Prebulus galaxy. That is the actual name of the galaxy that we here on Earth call the Milky Way. And to the universe, our planet isn't called Earth, it's called Malleolus Muta. And there's many, many, many different Earths within these many, many different universes. So the story can jump around from one planet to another, from one time to another. There's time travel all over this story. And the hypernet is how my characters get around from one planet to another and from one galaxy to another. And so here I am, ready to tell the tale. Evil villains and mighty civilizations await their chance to enter the world, and I must give them that chance. These people deserve to have life independent of me, and the only way that's going to happen is if all of you embrace these characters, love these worlds as much as I do. So please, take a moment, listen to the stories I'm going to tell, and take them into your heart. Cherish them. Give them life. So here I am, getting ready to tell the story, podcast style, from beginning to end. It's a daunting story, and I'll be honest with you folks, I'm a little nervous. I've written the outline for the entire story. I know every detail there is from beginning to end story-wise, but I haven't written the individual stories. I know the characters, I know what they do, I know everything, but to tell the story accurately in story format, like a soap opera or something, it's going to take a lot of work. And it's really a monumental undertaking I've given myself, but it's important. It is vitally important that I do the best job I possibly can. My friends in my head deserve nothing less. And all of you deserve nothing less. You deserve the best story I can possibly tell. So, folks, I am going to do the best I can to deliver to you the most entertaining, the most heart-wrenching, the most epic story. The TV series you will never see. So thank you for taking the time with me to learn a little bit about what Beyond Forever is all about. And my next video will begin with the turn of the key. That will start the entire tale. One little note, the turn of the key will feature the grandson of my main characters. And he will ultimately end the story. So the turn of the key is the beginning of the story, but also takes place at the end of the story. You'll find out what I'm talking about. So at the end of the story, we will be revisiting the turn of the key, and you will find out all of the things that take place after the events of the beginning. I know it sounds complicated, but trust me, folks, you don't want to miss anything, and I will do the best I can to deliver to you the best story I can. Until then, folks, thank you so much. This is William Jude Martin McQueen, wishing you all a good day.